we're back. Another episode. We're on episode number 40 of Post Fades and Cheesesteaks, hot off the heels of Super Bowl 55. So sadly, the 2020 season of the NFL is now over, but off season's already in full swing with QB trades and rumors everywhere, and apparently now Russell Wilson might get traded. But no, I'm just kidding. There was a report, but I don't think anyone would ever actually put any clout into that. So
no.
But
Yep.
Speaking of top tier quarterbacks, so Super Bowl saw Patty Mahomes and Tom Brady. So I guess my initial reactions were I was shocked, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because when we were the last episode when we were talking about it, I said that I clearly said that the linebackers for the Bucs were going to have trouble, because I was like, there's no way they're going to be able to stop Kelsey and then also prevent Hill from going over the top. And I was so wrong, because that's exactly what they did.
I know, Justin. You're wrong a lot. I'm not surprised.
It wasn't like a lack of, like, I didn't think it was possible. It was just I thought the rest of the town around KC would have been able to, come to play, especially during, like, the most important game, something that you work for all year. They just came out flat. They came out, they just were so sloppy, all those penalties.
Yeah, the penalties were really, I was shocked by how bad they played. They just fell right on their face. And I was talking about last week why I liked them, is because, they're a veteran championship team. They were here last year. They ran through the season as the best team by far. They had no issues in the playoffs. And they just came out and just laid a complete egg. No adjustments, nothing. I was really disappointed in Reed. I thought he coached a very bad game. It's just, you're watching the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah. You're watching Mahomes run for his life, and you're kind of not changing anything. I thought Mahomes probably should have ran a little bit more. He had a couple scrambles there in the beginning of the game that helped. They should have just ran the ball in general, try to get some short passes, screen passes going. And they just didn't seem to change anything from the beginning of the game towards the end. You mentioned Tyreek Hill, man. He was nowhere to be found. He didn't do anything.
I and what's crazy is, like, on the other side, like, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin didn't do anything either. They had like 4 combined catches for like 40 yards or something like that. Like,
yeah, but you know what, Gronk,
it was a weird game.
Brady goes to Gronk in those playoff games. He loves his Gronk connection.
Yeah, but I definitely think I still think the MVP. I don't really understand fully how they vote, but apparently, sometime in the third quarter, or like the start of the fourth quarter, like whoever's on the voting board, it's all like in person, so they like send in their handwritten like vote for who should be Super Bowl MVP. And I guess they just were like, yeah, give it to Brady. He did what he had to do. He wasn't like anything super spectacular, but he played well, played smart.
He put up 31 points. That's pretty good. I thought he played he played an efficient game. He made all the right throws. He played a Tom Brady game.
That was the key.
Yeah.
But I personally, like on our post, I think, Devin White was definitely deserving 12 tackles and an interception to basically seal the game. I mean, the Chiefs were kind of out of it at that point, but that interception was basically the icing on the cake. And I mean, Todd Bowles called a hell of a game.
Incredible game. That defense played amazing. I was very, very impressed. They were in the backfield every play. The offensive line injuries were obviously well known, but man, that was a poor performance. I actually had a little faith in Mike Remmers, because, like, he's a tackle. He's played before. He's a starter. He started a Super Bowl with the Panthers. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, he got torched by Von Miller, but it was just more of the same. This guy's just no good in the Super Bowl. That was my real disappointment, was the lack of adjustments. Like, they just didn't do anything. They just let Mahomes get his life chased away, and really sloppy game for the Chiefs. Obviously Reed's got a lot going on with his kids, so I maybe that was he was definitely probably thinking of that. It just showed poor coaching, no adjustments. The penalties killed them. I've never seen the Chiefs with Mahomes look that bad. This is the worst game I've ever seen them play with Mahomes.
It was the biggest loss, biggest point differential loss he's had since college or something.
Yeah, they didn't score a touchdown.
No,
The most potent offense in the league. They couldn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, just like how what I was saying last episode. I believe it was you who were saying that, like you said, you were expecting the tackles to step up, but losing two really talented tackles, that ended up being the deciding factor in my opinion from watching. Because if I had told you, leading up to the season that Andy Reid is going to lose the Super Bowl in the trenches, you would be like, but Andy Reid's philosophy is to build in the trenches, and that's how his teams are always so successful.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the Buccaneers just manhandled him with a 4-man rush. They literally just basically took away any deep. I don't think Mahomes completed any pass over 25 yards because they just had the safeties playing way back. So the too high safety thing worked out in their favor. And
that's what I was like. It's just
linebackers took out the tight ends, and the 4-man pressure got there. So it was
nothing changed out of it
for them.
I'm like, because Mahomes was sacked 3 times, which wasn't as much, just
that he was running for his life
all game. I know, but he was getting away from the first couple guys pretty successfully, and he was getting out of the pocket. That's why I don't understand why he just stopped scrambling. It wasn't like he was making the first guy miss pretty consistently on those blitzes, and when they got pressure, just do that a couple of times, make them worry about your legs, so they bring that safety in closer, and then you can try to take the top off. But it looked bad, and the defense played a hell of a game. The secondary played really well. They covered really well. Chiefs defense, I think, kind of laid an egg too. I know they didn't look that great on defense either.
That too, I was hyping them up, and I was saying they were underrated. I thought they were going to play really well, and then they just came out flat. Couldn't cover, couldn't pass rush. Mathieu was just not that great. Caused a couple penalties, and the one PI was pretty bullshit. That was not even catchable.
Still, but the winding up off sides and stuff like that, that you can't do.
Shit, because that was a field goal that turned into a touchdown. That.
Yeah, that's what happens. You can't give them those opportunities. They just the penalties. They was just really sloppy game, bad coaching, bad playing.
Yeah.
Hats off to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers though. They played really well, and honestly, this was one of the more impressive seasons I've seen from a football team. Just think the team's very similar, aside from Brady, Gronk, and a few other guys that they brought in the middle of the season. It's the same old team that went 7-9 last year with James Winston throwing 30 interceptions. Apparently they just need the quarterback change, and
it's a Brady effect. I mean, if you look at who won them that game, it was all people who were new to the Buccaneers this season. You had Gronk scored 2 touchdowns, Antonio Brown scored a touchdown, Leonard Fournette had a good game. He was running people over. That's the Brady effect. Those are all players who came to play with Tom Brady. I think without a doubt that was the biggest surprise to me, and it's because I was kind of in that same boat that not that Brady. I didn't think he was assistant quarterback, but I thought him and Belichick benefited each other in a good way, that they both benefited. You know what I mean? They're not. It's not like one was superior than the other. But I did think that Brady was going to maybe not be as good. And then here he goes and wins a Super Bowl.
First year. It took him no time. First year.
Well, that was the thing. I had them going 10-6 in my predictions before the season started. 10-6 wild card. And I guess I had them lose first, second round. And that was mostly because of the familiarity. And I was like, I can't envision him coming in the first year with all these moving pieces, learning a new system, playing with Bruce Arians, a very sometimes difficult coach who wants the best out of you, but will get in your face, and that's not really Brady's style. But they just hats off to all the coordinators. They've coached a hell of a game. It was the game was boring, from a viewer standpoint.
Yeah,
but from a football purist perspective, the Buccaneers did their game plan was probably almost perfectly executed. Everything was going their way. They weren't really having any trouble getting down the field. I think they punted once or twice. It was just impressive. And I mean, the defense. So Mahomes was pressured on 29 out of 56 of his dropbacks, most in Super Bowl history. the crazy stat that I saw, which I thought was a typo, he ran for 497 yards behind the line of scrimmage, like trying to get away from defenders. Like that
Yeah.
is
Oh no, he was moving.
mind
That's not
blowing.
he saved himself. They could have 10 sacks on him, but he was getting away from the first guy pretty consistently. Here's the other thing that drives you nuts, and I know Andy does this all the time, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 9 rushes. They ran the ball 9 times. He averaged just 7.1 yards per carry. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to get your quarterback killed. This strategy is not working. Why not just run the ball? Like, just the lack of adjustment, no screens. Like, Tyreek Hill, another thing. Tyreek Hill's one of your best players. You saw him last week. You just need to get the ball into his hand.
Yeah.
To do the stuff you were doing last week, short passes with him and just get the ball in his hands. And it was a really bad game, but the defense played awesome. They knew what the Chiefs wanted to do, and they took it away. And the Chiefs never changed.
Yeah, my two things that I've noticed people saying after the game. For one, I feel like too many people are defending Mahomes because of like him running around trying to make a play. It's like keep in mind like his receivers. There were a lot of drop balls.
Yeah.
And he did, yeah, some of the plays he really did have to scramble out and run around and make crazy throws. But at the same time, like I understand he's being pressured, but he bailed out of the pocket so fast on every play. He was doing spinoramas and all this shit. Like if Deshaun Watson, Carson, even Russell Wilson, when they do that, they get yelled at, and people are like, "Oh, why is he holding on the ball? Why is he running around trying to get sacked?" Like Mahomes was doing the same thing, and people were praising him. Like, let's keep this narrative the same here. Like, just because Mahomes is, highly talented, arguably top 3 quarterback in the league doesn't mean he gets a pass. He didn't play great. It's probably one of the worst games I've seen him play,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how
you still have Travis Kelce, you still have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you still have Tyreek Hill, like all these playmakers, so it can't all be forgotten on his part, You have players to get the ball to, if they drop it, they drop it. But I thought he was very inaccurate, especially in the first half, and I think that costed them. But at the end of the day, it helps to have a healthy line. It helps to have players execute. Even the offense players looked like they were coming back slow to the line to line up. And
that's how they looked like they had no juice. They were just undisciplined. They looked like they gave up by half. Like, you never want to count out Patrick Mahomes, but like I was watching this game, I was like, the Chiefs just have nothing. There's no excitement. There's no energy. Like nothing.
I think it was unfair. I think this was the worst year to have a home team Super Bowl game. Like the Buccaneers had such an advantage of already being there because the Chiefs didn't fly until Saturday. Like that had to have had a slight effect on them.
Yeah, well, that was their own decision. That was not a smart decision. Yeah, but that's you got no one to blame besides yourself in that one.
No, at the end of the day, Buccaneers, man. I'm just saying, the whole Andy Reid and his son thing, the having to fly over like a day or two before the game, like it wasn't set up for them to succeed as much as it was for the Buccaneers. But at the end of the day, the Buccaneers far executed or beyond with the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are going to be interesting to see now because now they had their bring back to earth moment. Everyone is super high. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, and then they were talking about how they're going to win 5 and 6 of them, and they're going to go back to back, and it's going to be easy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's terrible, but this, they really crashed and burned, and this was the worst game I've seen them play. It'll be interesting to see if they can, see what they respond like. He's still Mahomes, so they'll be fine.
I will say of Mahomes, he is. And only his 3rd year in the NFL, he's a hell of a leader. Like he didn't even like hint at blaming anybody. Didn't even bitch about the penalties. Manned up, said he played a bad game. He's gonna look at tape, fix his game. Like he'll come out next year on fire. He'll rebound. I'm not worried about the Chiefs at all.
Well, that's the next level for him.
They have a couple players to bring back. Buccaneers have Shaq Barrett and Godwin. I think they're gonna lose Godwin. I think he'll sign a big contract somewhere else, but they'll probably afford Shaq Barrett to come back, and who knows what Gronk's doing and AB. But
I mean, listen, when you win a Super Bowl, you usually want to take all your players. So but Tom Brady's still there. People are still going to want to play with Tom Brady.
Yeah,
they're going to be okay.
I do have a question for you though, because I saw this argument floating around quite a bit. Um, now that Tom has 7 championships, is he below, at the same level, or better than Michael Jordan as far as best players across all sports?
You know what? I this
Because
this
I think
this
I'm in
year,
the minority of this argument.
I think I would probably say yes. It just look at what he's done and the different ways he's done it. This was really impressive. Going to a new team, a team that doesn't have a winning culture or anything, and just bringing a culture, building a culture, and doing it in 1 year. It was amazing. This was pretty much the same team that went 7-9 the year before. They just switched out Brady for Winston and got a couple of veterans along the way. But you know, for the most part, the team was very similar, and he just came in and was the difference. It's just you also look at like how he's done it. Like he's gone through so many different teammates, different coordinators. Jordan kind of played with the same. Phil Jackson was there for every ring. Scottie Pippen was there for every ring. His team was very similar, but Brady's reinvented himself multiple times over. Like he was the gunslinger, in those years when they were losing to the Giants. He had that game manager period where he wasn't making mistakes, but he was just making the right move, and then he became the leader. This going to Tampa Bay though is like that. People aren't. You just don't do that. You don't just go to a team say we're going to the Super Bowl and then go win the Super Bowl in the first year.
Yeah,
that's impressive. And Jordan never had to do that. He just stayed in the same spot. And granted, he never had to leave. He got 6 rings out of it.
yeah.
That's pretty awesome. But and I know Brady's argument. I think the only argument you can really make in Michael Jordan's favor is that he never lost a final. But now Brady's 7 out of 10. Like he might have lost 3, but 7 out of 10 is a pretty good percentage.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think as far as like success, how impressive it was, I would say Brady, like you said, it's just I think people put too much stock into the fact that Jordan never lost the finals and he won MVP in all 6. It's like, yeah, it's impressive as hell, but you have to keep in mind, Jordan wasn't, he had, like you said, a very similar build team. He was surrounded with good players. It wasn't like he was LeBron James in Cleveland, trying to run the show.
Yeah.
He was very much had a good supporting cast, and I think people look at what Jordan was as like a groundbreaking player as more of like, he was the face of the NBA for the 80s and 90s, whereas Brady's, I don't know if I'd say he's the face of the NFL, but he's one of the premier players.
Yeah.
You can't not like he has 7 titles in the NFL. Like there's like what the Celtics have, like 17 NBA championships. Like
yeah,
this is the NBA and NFL aren't really that comparable in that aspect, but I think the NFL is much tougher to win championships than the NBA. You can turn an NBA team around in 1 year, and it's not that hard. Just get the right player in place and have solid coaching. NFL, the fact that the Buccaneers, like you said, were able to go from 7 wins to a Super Bowl title in 1 year, it's mind blowing.
I know. Listen, it's amazing. It's the Brady effect, and that's why. Well, first off, he has more championships than Jordan now. That's now that he broke the tie, he's got 7. But this is also something Jordan's never done. He's never had success on a team. You could have made the argument that it would have been a little.
Brady's 43. MJ came back into the league when he was like what, almost 40 when he went to the Hornets or whatever it was.
Yeah,
the age success there.
The age thing is also insane. Like the fact that he's doing this at an age I can't think of in any sport, any athlete that's been this successful at this high of an age.
The Steelers the Steelers and the Patriots have 6 Super Bowl titles. Tom Brady has 7. A single player has more titles than any NFL team.
It's amazing. Listen, wouldn't surprise me if he wins another one. Who knows how long he's going to play, but I mean, I see no reason why he should stop. He's in a good situation with a good team. And he's still playing incredible. He looks great.
Yeah, I would say it's hard to say. He definitely has this next year coming up. I think it depends on how he plays. If he I can't imagine he plays poorly based on what I just saw, because he's kind of ageless at this point. But, I would say probably 2 more years he'll play playoffs and both. This team's really talented, but I don't know. This was a momentum thing. I feel like they had a rough November, like an okay December, and then they caught fire in the playoffs.
Well, I mean,
beating Breeze, beating
naturally,
Rodgers,
yeah.
beating Mahomes, like 3 of the best quarterbacks in the league. But they'll be a good team for a couple of years now. They have a good young core. Devin White's an animal. They have, if they lock up Fournette, they have him and Jones. It's a nice tandem at running back, and obviously Mike Evans is really good, and OJ Howard. So yeah, they have talent. They have good coaching. So they'll be good. The Chiefs will be good.
Yeah, you know what? Congratulations to Tampa Bay, though. Big win. Very impressive. I obviously
Tampa Bay.
I've been picking against Tampa pretty much every playoff game, and they played in besides the Washington one.
That's part of the reason I went with the Chiefs, because I was like, look, I've been betting against Brady 3 weeks in a row now. I was like, I can't just flip the switch.
I won't be doing that ever again. I've learned my lesson. You think 7 Super Bowls we got to, but
if they're in it again, I'm Tom Brady repeat.
Yeah, ridiculous. So,
but
well, I think that wraps that up. Now let's talk about the embarrassments of the league. We talked about the good stuff.
We have to.
I want to say one thing about this Wentz trade rumor.
Okay.
I'm still not on the trade Wentz wagon yet, because if they trade Wentz, then I'd rather have kept Doug Peterson. The way I look at it was, it was one or the other. And now Wentz still seems like he still doesn't want to be here. So that's just idiotic on your part that you didn't, talk to him, figure that out beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Now the trade to the Bears and the rumors you're hearing, if they bring back Nick Foles and they do this whole thing all over again to a new quarterback, Howie should already be fired, but this is inexcusable. You have a young quarterback who is your future, whether you want to believe it or not. He's your future, especially if you trade Wentz. Going into a second year where he's ready to take the reins and take over the franchise, you're going to bring in the quarterback that's beloved in the city, is a hero. He has a statue out in the field.
So does the ex-coach.
It'll take probably 2 incomplete passes from Jalen Hurts until people are screaming for Nick Foles to come back in. If they bring in Nick Foles, people are going to want him to start right away. And you know what? It's mind blowing to me how much this team just goes backwards. We just go in circles and do the same thing over and over and over and over again. At least they're consistent. At least they're consistent in their desire to just screw over whatever quarterback they have. They have no interest in helping them. I can't fathom what they're thinking of by bringing in Foles. Like, you saw this whole experiment blow up in your face. Do you really want to do this to Jalen Hurts? I can't wrap my head around it. If they trade him, fine. Don't bring him back Foles. I love Foles so much, I do. But this is just going to put Jalen Hurts and the team in a tough situation again. This is what you try to get away from. This is what Carson Wentz probably wants to leave the team because he was never able to get over the Nick Foles drama. And then you did it again when you drafted Jalen Hurts, and now you're going to do it again to Jalen Hurts, but trading for Nick Foles. Like, you pissed off 3 different quarterbacks in a row. Just mind-blowing.
I will be fuming if they trade Wentz and then move up in the draft and take a quarterback. Especially if it's the guy from North Dakota, like, I'm going to lose my mind.
It's just this. There's no path, or there's no plan. They just do things. Like, it doesn't seem like anyone is actually thinking about moves that can be made. Maybe they do draft quarterback at 6, which would make no sense. But you know what? Drafting Jalen Hurts in the second round didn't make any sense anyway. So it's just like, these moves never make sense. We got rid of Doug Peterson, you think, to keep Carson Wentz. Now we're trading Carson Wentz. You're going to trade Carson Wentz and build with Jalen Hurts, but then it wouldn't shock me if you draft a quarterback. Like, the moves don't make sense. Like, they just seem like they have no plan, no action, no idea what they're doing.
No, and it's like, it was funny because I remember in the middle of the season we were saying, ride out the Doug Peterson thing this year, call it a fluke, and then we were like, give him 1 more year, and then we'll be like, all right, if you don't coach well again, you're gonna get the axe. So, when he was fired, I tried to talk myself into it, be like, okay, well, if I already wasn't super confident in him and was kind of iffy on, give him another year. And now it's like, okay, but now I'm like thinking the opposite. I'm like, okay, but we got rid of him to move forward with Wentz. And now we're going to move backwards without Wentz and restart and it's like
Nothing makes sense. They just
how
do
do we
things just
go?
to do it.
How do we go from 2017 Super Bowl champions to dumpster fire in 3 years? Like it's insane.
Because they have no idea what they're doing. They just like at times you think they're doing a full-on rebuild. At times you think they're just trying to run it back, see maybe if they can get healthy, see if they can reinvent, Wentz again. But it just doesn't make sense. Lori needs to step back. I think that's a big part of why they just fallen so quickly.
Howie needs to step down.
Howie's not going anywhere. We know that. So at least get the owner to stop with the moves because he's been just as bad. Like I've never saw Robert Kraft get more involved after they won a Super Bowl. He keeps his role. I get it. You won the Super Bowl and you're probably all excited now. You're feeling good. Your best friend is the GM. He needs to step back. Preferably would like to fire Howie, but that's not going to happen. Because it sounds like if you trade Wentz, you're going to have to do a full-scale rebuild. You're still $1 zillion over the cap, so it probably would help you just to cut everyone that you can and rebuild and build the whole thing over again. But I'm not really happy or sold that Howie Roseman's going to be leading this rebuild. That makes me think we're going to start this rebuild, and then 2 years, 3 years now, when they have nothing to show for it, probably do the whole thing over again.
I think it'll be more of a soft rebuild where this year's like a down year, like a 7, 9, 8, and 8 year, and then the aspirations are for that 2022 that they'll be playoff contenders. But it really just depends on who the quarterback is because I'm not super sold on Hurts, but I'm more confident if you give him a full offseason and a coach that wants to run with him. There's no controversy, no drafting another quarterback. Like give him the keys, let him learn, let him work with the receivers. It seems like Miles Sanders is like buddy with him already. So get that going, get that train moving. We'll see what happens. Because like I said, he had a great game against New Orleans. Obviously, defense is adjusted, learned how to play against him, but he's also going to adjust the more he learns and grows. So
you hope.
I just, it wouldn't shock me if next week, when we're on here, we're talking about Wentz's new team, but also wouldn't shock me if next week we're saying Eagles decide not to trade Wentz, going with him as the starter or going QB battle. And it's just this whole thing. Nothing is clear because Wentz hasn't said anything. The Eagles, they're not going to say anything, but it's all just speculation. Nobody actually knows whether that Nick Foles and Tariq Cohen trade for our first round pick for Wentz was actually going to happen. Like, who knows? That's also the biggest thing. It's like Wentz's silence, bothers me.
His silence makes me think that he wants out, and he's always wanted out. And he, at least, I won't say he's really handling it great, but he's not like Deshaun Watson just going at the organization. But
if he was less talented, if he was more of like a Jared Goff type talent, I think I would be more like cool with the idea of it. But I think I'm holding on because I know I've seen the crazy throws. I've seen him have, phenomenal years, but the more I hear about him, the less I like the whole uncoachable thing, thinking he's the best player in the room kind of deal. Like he's not coming off as, a great teammate, and that's not a good image you want. And whether that's because he's from, the North Dakotas where nobody fucking lives and he was the best player in the whole radius, whether, it's possible that that's all he's ever known, that he was the best player. And then that's kind of drilled into his mental. But, in the NFL, it's not how it goes. So I think it'd probably be better for both organizations to just move on at this point.
I wasn't really in favor of trading him because I've been saying this since the switch happened with Hurts, the nightmare situation, which I think still is going to play out. I don't know if Hurts is a franchise quarterback. I haven't seen anything, yet that makes me think he is. And I still think Wentz has talent. And I think that if he goes to an organization, he'll probably figure it all out and probably do really well. Um,
Wentz will either have a repeat of this year because he can't, put aside his pride and let coaches coach him, or he'll have, a renaissance year, have a great
if
year.
Wentz gets traded and he succeeds in year one with the new team, Howie has to be fired the minute that happens.
Oh, 100%.
Has to be hired because
Week 1, 500 yards, 6 touchdowns.
fire him.
Fire.
Because that's a fireable offense. Because now you're seeing your franchise quarterback be a franchise quarterback to someone else, and you had him in the room, you had him situated, you had the franchise locked in, you had him on the contract and everything, and you just ruined it. You ruined the whole thing.
I will say, at the end of the day, so what was he? He was here for 5 seasons.
2016,
Rookie year, MVP, almost year. So this was his 5th year.
Yeah.
It wasn't a failure by any stretch. If this is the goodbye, he gave us some good years. I know a lot of people talk down on his last 2 years, but again, look at what he had to work with. He was basically working with what Mahomes had in the Super Bowl, but with less wide receiver talent. Look how much Mahomes would run around with broken down offensive line. So I get the criticism of Wentz, especially the intercept. Like, keep in mind, the fumbles have always been a problem, but the interceptions was never his issue. All these interceptions that people keep bringing up, that was all from this year. Like, he's not been an interception prone quarterback in his previous career, like previous years. But he got, say what you will, he got us that Super Bowl. I don't care what anyone says. That team was very talented on defense. It was a very together fight for each other team, but they wouldn't have been in that position to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs without Wentz. He got them to 13-2 before he tore his ACL against the Rams. There's no, people need to understand that the home field advantage thing was by far one of the biggest reasons the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl.
So, oh, well, yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, Wentz, helped get them there. Foles took it from there, though. But
right. Granted, we don't know what would have happened had Wentz not gotten hurt. But I stand by that. I think his impact was very, very, some people will be like, the dumb Eagles fans. Oh, he didn't really deserve a ring. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Oh, of course didn't. Well, look, he the 5 years he played for us, he three playoff appearances. He got us in the play. We were in the playoffs when he got hurt. Yeah, we were in the spot locked up, and he willed himself and the team in when he had the backups in that one year, and then he was got us in again, and then unfortunately got hurt and he didn't get to finish the game in the playoffs. So I wouldn't say it was a negative tenure here. It shows me the inept leadership and management that this team has, that they've completely ruined their franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just amazing. And if he gets traded, it'll be this will be the end of the saga, and it'll be really, you'll look back on it and it's going to look awful. It's going to look how quickly things were good, and then they just fell apart, and how poor the Eagles were in handling it.
A great comparison I saw. Someone had side by side of Wentz's first 5 years and Drew Brees' first 5 years. So his first 5 years was in San Diego, and Wentz was very statistically better in every category than Brees, from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously we know what Brees, when left the Chargers and signed with the Saints, how much his career took off. So I would not be shocked if the same thing happened. I would also not be completely shocked if Wentz kind of sputtered out and became a middle of the road quarterback, because
I think I'd be more surprised if he didn't succeed than if he did.
I think right now, based on what I saw last season, he's still he's top 15. I don't know if I could still put him in top 10 because he just played horribly last year, but talent wise, he's top 15. If you take the average NFL starting quarterback and look at what they do versus what Wentz can do, I look at the size, the arm strength, the mobility, the whole. I understand the whole holding onto the ball, not throwing it away is also problematic, but Mahomes does it, and when he hits, it's game changing. So when Wentz does that and it hits, it's the same kind of thing.
See, I disagree with you on this. The Mahomes scrambling around in the Super Bowl was different. Mind you, he only took 3 sacks. Wentz's biggest problem this year was the fact that he would just take so many sacks, and it's like it was like he just didn't even understand like the rules of football. Like, dude, get the ball out of your hand. That's what you have to do. It's the 15-yard sacks every time that he takes that are brutal. That's why everyone gets mad at him for holding on the ball because he never gets the ball out of his hand. Like, throw it away. You know?
No, I agree. That's fair. I do think Wentz oftentimes his scrambling usually relates to him holding onto the ball too long and then running out of the pocket. Whereas in the Super Bowl, I mean, Mahomes kind of was forced out of the pocket.
Mahomes probably should have. Yeah, I still think he should have scrambled more. I think it would have really helped. But you know,
but I think just for that comparison's sake, I still think Mahomes I don't think he trusted his line at all, and I think that's why he kept running.
I mean, did you
I think
see
if
them?
he would,
I don't blame him.
I never really see him step up. He more of does. I've never seen a quarterback spin around so many times. Like he's trying to fake everybody out every play. I mean, I give him credit. You know, he played it hard. He tried to do what he could. But I just if you watch Brady, he gets the ball out in less than 3 seconds every time he throws it. So
well, because he has no mobility at all.
Well, yeah, different system, different play calling. But I understand what you're saying with the Wentz Mahomes comparison. I didn't mean all the time. I just meant in the grand scheme of things. But
oh yes, of course, yes, I understand.
Okay, glad we're on the same page. Yes, I mean that wraps up my thoughts. It's gonna be weird. Again, I just want clarity at this point.
Well, the Eagles organization doesn't give you clarity. So here, your yes or no, your opinion. We'll wrap this up on this. Week from now, Monday next week, what would that be? The 15th? Is Carson Wentz on the Eagles or is he gone?
I think it's Valentine's Day, 14th next Monday. So
sure.
Okay. What was the question?
Will Wentz be on this team next week?
Last I heard, a trade was incoming, but not like super soon, like as in like the day after the Super Bowl. But I think if I had to bet money, I would say Thursday or Friday we're gonna hear something.
Okay.
Whether it's Wentz gets traded or a different quarterback gets traded and that shakes up his whole thing, like where he would go. Now I'm hearing Deshaun Watson's not going to get traded. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like we really don't understand anything that's going on until like March when free agency opens up. Then we'll have a lot of clarity. But this week is going to be a hold your breath week. So
yeah, no, I've been telling you, Deshaun. I don't see Deshaun Watson get traded. You just don't do that. You know, you don't trade away young top 5 franchise quarterbacks. Houston is a terrible organization. Don't get me wrong, and he doesn't want to be there. And it's going to be very awkward, but I don't see him going anywhere. I don't see them getting rid of him. But we'll see. And if Wentz does get traded, we'll have a $33 million dead cap hit. So that'll be fun. Great job, Howie.
Well, I mean, that's
incredible handling of this whole situation.
That'll be part of it. That's the thing, though. Like, so that's why I'm saying this coming up season will be kind of like a soft rebuild where they're not going to have a ton of money to go out and get players. I mean, I would say Deshaun, Alshon, Malik Jackson, they're all probably going to get cut. Older, and they're for money reasons. Jalen Mills, I don't think is coming back. Roby Coleman, I don't think is coming back. I think it's going to be a slightly different looking team. Obviously, quarterback, but
it better be. I mean, they won 4 games this past season.
I just
they
hope
better not be running it back.
I don't want to see Jason Peters on the line again. But we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. But from here, we'll do obviously start with some draft coverage, draft trades, free agency. Still an exciting time in the NFL. So all that fun stuff. But watch out for a emergency Carson Wentz trade if it happens. So
I love the guy so much. I do. Do not bring Nick Foles back here. Just don't do it. I don't see what benefit they're going to get out of it. So that's my last piece.
Yeah, this team is a emotional roller coaster. Like
they just have no direction. They have no idea what they're doing. They just do things.
Therapist just to be an Eagles fan.
Yeah, it's just they just do things. There's no reason behind it. There's no thinking. There's no long-term plan. They just do them.
I remember sitting in a bar watching them draft Wentz, thinking, "Oh, this could be cool. This could be exciting. Maybe he'll be the next franchise guy, the next Donovan McNabb." And then rookie year was promising. Next year was amazing. We won the Super Bowl. Then, injuries were a concern. Then he was healthy, but didn't have health around him. And then he played shit. And then now his coach got fired. Now he's getting you can't make this shit up.
It's ridiculous, but yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. We shall see. But I think we'll wrap it on that. So stay tuned, everyone.
All right. I'll catch you.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.